Hey everybody, and welcome to RachAquarelle. I'm doing something a little bit different today. I'm going to show you just a really quick tour of my tiny little studio. So this is it. This is basically just like, I guess, a breakfast nook right off of my teeny tiny little kitchen. And this is the infamous Hazel, the one with the pink collar, and then Watson's the big one with the green collar. And they are always around. And you probably know them best by their snoring in the background when I do my voiceovers typically. So they are very rambunctious, they love to play, and so I kind of have my studio set up. That blanket down there is for them, and they usually have a bunch of their toys in here as well. So my studio is kind of set up to be very dog friendly, and they like to stare out the window and bark at the neighbor dog, of course, and any squirrel that might pass by. And that is why I have to do voiceovers. So this is the area where I work for the most part. And I have this, it's basically just a folding table here. And I have it kind of divided into two sections. So you can see here, here's my finger. This is where I do my oil painting. And I have all my oil paints back here. I have my violin, which I'm terrible at, but I do practice. And then this is my watercolor area. And this is what you guys always see. So this is my mat that I use. And I've only been using this recently. I just bought it for myself, but it's been really, really nice. And I've got my hair dryer back there plugged in. I have this light bulb up here just because I like it. Even though there's lots of windows in here, I always feel like the more light, the better. And then this contraption here, this is actually what holds my camera when I film. And it has this nice light on it, so I get some really good even lighting on my artwork and my painting process. And then I have a lot of supplies over here in these cubbies, lots of books too. So this is some more oils and mostly watercolors and lots of mediums, and all of those brushes I think are for oil painting. I actually had very few brushes for watercolor until just recently when I bought myself some Christmas presents, and that's what I will show you next. Okay, so I am so excited to show you some of the things that I got myself for Christmas this year. And first though, let me show you the brushes that I had previously, and this was pretty much all I had. So I had this set of Jack Richardson paint brushes. These are for watercolor, and they came with this case here. And then this was the only brush that I had that was not a Jack Richardson brush. This is Da Vinci, and this is like a squirrel mop brush. And so, yeah, I've had this set for a pretty long time, and it has really done the trick. But I did treat myself to some new brushes this year, which is very exciting. Oh, actually, I lied. I have these Hake brushes. That's the smallest one I have. Oh, wait, no. This is the smallest one I have, and it's honestly the only one I've ever used. These came in a set. And, like, this is so big, I don't know what to do with it. So none of these other than the very smallest one have ever been used. Honestly, I have no idea how to use these larger ones. So anyway, these are all the brushes I had before, and this is definitely enough. And I don't really have a good reason why I bought more brushes, just because I wanted to try some other things out. So let me show you some of those. Okay, so first, you're going to start seeing these brushes in my videos a lot, and actually you already have. So I bought this case. This case actually only came with 3 brushes, and it was these, let's see, they're silver. I guess that's the brand, and then the line is called Black Velvet. Let me see if I can get that in focus a little better. So I think that these have some synthetic squirrel in them, so I've been using this one a lot to do washes, and I really like it. This shape is called cat's tongue or oval, So that's been nice. I actually haven't used the other ones, so they still have these plastic caps on, which this set was nice because it came with some instructions for taking care of your brushes. And I learned that actually, you know, once you take these plastic caps off to use your brush, you just throw them away. I always thought that you should keep them and it would help keep your brushes nice, but typically what happens is when I go to put the cap back on, somehow, because the brush is going to be wet sometimes when you're putting it back on, or the, you know, bristles are going to be a little bit wily, and you end up like bending some of them backwards. So it actually ends up working against you to keep these little caps around. So I guess once you use the brush, just throw those away and just take really good care of them. And then the other brushes I bought, it was also a set, and I like them because, and these are also synthetic, I think they're made with Taklon, but I like the clear handles. And what I really like is these edges, because you can use these to scrape into your watercolor, which I've done in at least one of my illustrations I've done recently, and so that's really cool. And you can also use this to help pick up masking fluid. So these are really cool, and I don't know, I just really like the clear handles, I guess. And I like having a case for my brushes. I never store my brushes upright like this because then water soaks down in here and kind of loosens up the bristles. So I always leave them flat to dry anyway, and I like to just have a case to protect them. And then I got another set of brushes, and these are for doing plein air, which is where you go and you paint outdoors or on site. And so it's nice to have brushes that are a little bit smaller and more portable. And that's what these are. These are actually Jack Richardson as well. I really like these cases that Jack Richardson makes. And I love how short these are. Look at that. It's like shorter than my hand. So I think some people may not like that, but for me, oops, and especially for watercolor painting, I really don't feel the need for a long handle. When I do oil painting, I actually do prefer a longer handle, but I don't see that as being nearly as necessary or helpful with watercolor. So I'm really excited about this set of brushes that I can haul around with me very easily. And then next, I've got myself some new inks, and I only bought a few. These are by Dr. P.H. Martins. Let's see, can you see that? So I got a magenta and an aqua color, and then I also got white, because honestly, so I have white gel pens that I use sometimes. I don't really like them, so I'm going to see if I like using just some white India ink instead. So these are all considered India ink, and they're all supposed to be waterproof. And I really wanted these two colors because instead of always using black ink, I'd like to maybe try using some accents of color to do some of the outline work in my illustrations. So I'm really excited about getting to use these and try them out. I have only used this one so far, and I think that I was supposed to shake it before using it because it was not opaque when I was trying to use my dip pen with it, and I had forgotten to shake it. So I'll be trying these out a little bit later, demonstrating those. I only bought myself 2 new tubes of paint. I bought, and they're both by R.M.Broadwell, and guess what? One of them is Payne's Gray, because I use that color so much, and I'm just going to continue using the heck out of it. It's my favorite color, and I figured it was on sale, and so I went ahead, and actually both of these were on sale like by a lot, so even though I really don't need them right now, I went ahead and bought them. This one I think was like $4 cheaper than it normally is. And these tubes, honestly, like compared to Winsor & Newton and Daniel Smith, which is the 2 brands that I had primarily used before I tried out R.M.Broadwell, the prices are really comparable, if not a little bit less expensive, and this paint is awesome. I even, for a little while, I considered maybe just switching over to R.M.Broadwell for everything, but I think I've realized that, especially with Daniel Smith, those paints have qualities to them that you don't get from other brands. So I might stop using Winsor & Newton once I'm out of those paints and just replace those with R.M.Broadwell. But yeah, I really like these. And I'm hoping that with this gouache, I know I've complained about this before, I have Winsor & Newton designer gouache currently, and that's all that I've used, and I don't really use gouache very much. But what happens is that if you leave it on your palette and it dries up, it's almost impossible to reactivate. And I've read that because this has honey mixed into it, I've read that this is much easier to reactivate. So I'm going to be trying that out and hoping that that works. Okay, now what do I have? Oh, I bought myself a book, and I'm going to do a video where I review this book. It's a great book. It is by Nathan Fowkes. I've actually taken some of Nathan Fowkes' classes online through schoolism.com. He's a really great teacher, and this is called How to Paint Landscapes Quickly and Beautifully in Watercolor and Gouache. So I've actually taken this online course, and he just put this book out recently, and I had to get it for myself. And it so far is a great book. It has so much information in it that I'm definitely not all the way through it. Although I did buy this for myself early. I've had it for a couple of weeks now. And it's like every page has so much information on it. It's almost like too much to take in. So I'm just kind of slowly making my way through this book. And I plan to do a review of it, but spoiler alert, I highly recommend it. I found this on Amazon for like $27, brand new. And you can see I'm already wearing it down. And that's what I tend to do to books. So this is a new favorite. But I think that the art supply that I bought, that I'm the most excited about, although it was probably the least necessary thing for me to buy, was a new palette. It is a new porcelain palette. I found this on Etsy, and I'm going to link that Etsy shop below. This guy, he makes a lot of different watercolor palettes out of porcelain. There were so many different shapes and sizes. I actually went for, I think this was probably the smallest one that he had. And I have mentioned that I want to really kind of, especially for my demonstrations and tutorials, I want to reduce how many paints I actually have on my palette at a time to just the colors I'm using for that particular demonstration, just to kind of make things a little bit visually, you know, easier to follow along with. With my other palette, I had every single well filled with every color that I owned, and I think that that just makes it kind of difficult to follow along, perhaps. So I'm going to start using this palette a lot in my demonstrations. And I really love supporting other people who, you know, they make things and they put them out there. This actually came with it. It doesn't fit on it like a lid or anything like that. It's just kind of an extra mixing well, which I really appreciate because when I mix my paints, I tend to take up a lot of space. So I'm going to just show my other porcelain palette just for comparison. So this is the palette that you've seen me use so far, and you can see already it's a lot bigger. This is by Jack Richardson, and I bought this on Amazon. So lots more wells in here, lots more mixing space. I may still use this because I make such a mess when I'm mixing up my colors that I might just need a little bit more space than this. Who knows? Maybe not. But I really do like this palette, and you can get a smaller version of it for a lot less money. I think the smaller version that you would find on Amazon is only $13 or $14. I think I paid $20 for this, which really isn't bad. And then on Etsy, I paid about $20 for this set. So I think that that's a really reasonable price, especially for something that is handmade. And, you know, it's really important to me to try to buy from other makers, whether they're in the United States or elsewhere. I just like supporting other creative people. But I think either of these palettes is really going to be enjoyable to use. I really like mixing my watercolors on porcelain. It's just, it has like a tactile experience that you don't get from like plastic palettes, in my opinion. Although I never take these out plein air painting because I would definitely break them. So I think that that is it. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. Seeing my workspace, I really like seeing other people's workspaces, seeing how they make just, you know, a random room in their house work as a studio, because almost nobody really has like a whole dedicated space in their home to just use as a studio. Although we can dream. I'm always looking at studio pictures on Instagram, and I love watching videos where people show you their workspace. And I think that there's no right or wrong way to set up your workspace. I'm not like the most pristine person when it comes to my environment, but I do like to have kind of a dedicated space. And this was mine. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, I'm going to add links for everything that you see here below. There will be a separate link for this because it's obviously not available on Amazon at all. It's only on Etsy, so you can look for that link below. And yeah, so thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Bye!